It's the first edition of the Niger Delta Today program in the month of September. And of course, it's a new week with a number of activities that we are to look at, which took place during the weekend. Welcome to Niger Delta Today. I'm wishing you a happy new month. Well, let's look at some of the issues we got for you today. Jennifer.
Yeah.
Happy new month.
Happy new month to you, Savior, and very specific Savior, Robert, because I think, well, you're so excited
I think I skipped that.
Stories, yes. Well, that's Savior, Robert, and I'm Jennifer Pius, and of course, there are a number of issues which we want to talk about today, and one of them is the NNPCL's plan to privatize Warri and Kaduna refinery. We'll also look at the PDP World Congresses that are held in Rivers, Delta, and Bayelsa State, and also bring you up to speed with activities around the Edo election. A number of things we will talk about. But first, let's get to start with the NNPCL story, where the nation's oil resource has been plagued with numerous challenges. Issues have been raised such as bunkering, differing prices of products, scarcity of fuel to the state of refineries. And in as much as the country is blessed with crude oil, the prices of refined products in petrol, gas, and others haven't reflected efforts put into this sector. Now, different governments have invested into bettering the oil and gas sector, rehabilitation of refineries, and paying, as well as in the case now, removing subsidies. But it looks like everything is being washed down the drain. Today, the price of cooking gas goes for 1,500 per kilo in some places. Petrol in some locations goes for as high as 1,000. Let's not even talk about diesel. Well, some stories has it that the independent marketers have attributed the cost of importing the refined product to the inflated prices. Can we really blame them? Well, we will try to find answers before then. The questions of the state of our refineries become a topical one. Beginning with the Port Harcourt refinery, a key facility of the country's oil production, the Nigerian NNPCL, they had received an investment of approximately $1.5 billion for the rehabilitation of the refinery. After several failed attempts to kickstart its operation about 7 months ago, the NNPCL mentioned of plans to privatize the Port Harcourt refinery. Thereafter, we didn't get much detail on the privatization plan. Then the NNPCL was summoned by the Senate committee to explain the expenditure of $1.5 billion for the rehabilitation of the refinery, of which there hasn't been any evidence. Well, not just that, there has been significant investment totaling around 11.35 trillion naira since 2010. Now, the NNPCL has called for private companies to make a bid for the Warri and Kaduna refineries. Questions as to what about the Port Harcourt refinery? Will this be for the greater good of Nigerians, or are they selling off the refineries or giving them out to these companies to manage? A number of questions, and a lot has to be answered. But, well, we'll get about that conversation. Let's take a break now, and when we return, we'll get about with the conversation in regards to the NNPCL and the refineries. Let's take a break now.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
1 hour of your daily dose of news from around the world.
Whether it's a diplomatic breakthrough, a humanitarian crisis, or a scientific discovery, Global Digest gives you a deeper understanding of the world around you. Join me, Alma Marcus. Let's stay ahead of the curve with conversations that are shaping our planet at 11 a.m. on DSTV, channel 258, and on Star Times, channel 140. Global Digest, your window to the world's current affairs, only on Advocate Broadcasting Network.
No matter wetin I see, enough fit make mouth heavy to talk am. That's now why people dey talk.
You know wetin dey worry you, but you no go fit take help yourself.
In this kind of situation now, what if they really no talk to una? Wetin be the way forward?
They go bury our chairman on Thursday. We go remain here.
Make we talk good where we dey see good, and where we know say we no dey see good, make we also dey talk am.
No woman, no mother deserve to know the grave of his child.
The bank manager and the bank executive, they are the one the government should first pay.
People They Talk, the show on Monday to Friday by 5 p.m. on top ADBN TV.
Thanks for joining us again on Niger Delta today. Just before the break, we were on with a story of interest from the NNPCL regarding the Warri and Kaduna refineries. What their efforts are ongoing as regards maintenance of the operation of these refineries. And of course, we understand what is happening within the polity currently, and the fact that there's been a lot of issues regarding the oil sector in Nigeria, where we get to talk about skyrocketing prices of the commodity in the market. But we have joining us currently on Niger Delta today to appraise the activities of the NNPCL recently as regards the maintenance of the Warri and Kaduna refineries. Joining us right now is an energy expert, Dr. Wisdom Enang. Dr. Wisdom, you're welcome on Niger Delta today.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Right, but...
Okay, we got inundated with reports within the weekend as regards the NNPCL and its activities around the refineries in Nigeria, which are not really active at the moment, specifically the Warri and Kaduna refineries. How did you receive that report? A lot of reactions trailed it on different social media platforms, especially X.
All right, I think for me, right, the idea of the NNPC planning to, privatize or send it to private operators is something that I think much resonates with what the professionals or experts in the industry have been asking for. Because of the day,
Mr. Wisdom. Okay, I think
we still need the the support of the NNPC upstream. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. We also need the support of the NNPC upstream to supply feedstock. Whether or not you send it to private operators, if you do not fix the legacy, challenges that has to, do with supply, no matter the expertise, nothing is going to change. So my question is, what is informing that thought at this moment? Is it because they have observed that things have gone beyond the capacity of the NNPC? And if that has happened, how bad has things gotten? And also, have we been able to fix the other structural issues that will ensure that eventually when the private people operate these facilities, that will get optimal outcomes out of the facilities.
Okay, Mr. Wisdom Inang. Now, there has been some fears or expressions by some Nigerians that would this be coming at the right time? Now, recall that last year, the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, had mentioned that rather than rehabilitate the Port Harcourt refinery, why not sell them off to private companies or corporate bodies to manage and take care of their operations? And coming now, the Warri refinery, as well as Kaduna refinery, they have put it out calling for bodies, individuals, private entities to manage the operation of these facilities. And not to forget that about 7 months ago, the Port Harcourt refinery, the exact same thing had happened with Port Harcourt refinery, which till now we haven't gotten details on that. Do you think it's coming at the right time?
All right, thank you very much. You know, the right time would definitely depend on the factors that are informing that decision. Because when you look at risk, you know, the way you do your risk management, there are two ways to do it. There's the risk avoidance, which is, of course, don't run the refineries at all. Or there's risk transfer. Or then, of course, there's the risk mitigation. But when you look at what they're trying to do, it's like a risk transfer. It's almost saying, we don't think this is going to work like we thought it would be, and we do not want our names to get in the gutters, and so we're going to transfer the risk and perhaps blame whatever happens in future to the operators that are going to take over. And that's what worries me the most. Now, in trying to reconcile what the presidential candidate of the PDP said versus what at the moment this government is doing, I think the presidential candidate had talked about completely bidding those facilities out. And so the ownership, the repairs, the maintenance and the operations of that facility is now domiciled with a new owner. But that's quite different with what this current government is doing. I think what they're doing is to just outsource the operations and maintenance, but the ownership may still be domiciled with the NNPC. But for us to understand what's going on, we have to look at the intent. The question is the intent supposed to enhance productivity? Is it because the advantages outweighs the disadvantages? Or is it because there's an underlying intentions to do a risk transfer to another party, so NNPC do not seem to be liable for future challenges, which at the moment may be looking like booby traps. It looks like those challenges are already in view. They might crystallize soon, and the best way is to do a risk transfer.
All right, Dr. Wisdom Inang, if you could help us understand a couple of issues surrounding the Petroleum Industry Act that was recently enforced. I mean, where do these refineries fall under? Are they not still under the NNPC? And why are we now talking about the operation and maintenance of these same facilities when the NNPCL is supposed to be in charge of it? Could you help us understand the nitty-gritties behind the refineries and who are supposed to generally manage them? Is it still under the federal government or the NNPCL as it has been privatized?
Right. Thank you very much. Very important question. It has been privatized, the NNPCL, and it is under the privatized NNPCL. However, there is nothing stopping the NNPCL from saying we would have ownership, or we're going to strike a deal, maybe profit sharing deal, and then get operators to deal with it. But again, it depends on the rationale. Now, there's also nothing stopping the NNPC from saying we're going to divest from those refineries and get other people to buy. So again, there might also be a middle ground. Operate with the possibility, perhaps in 10 years, for an outright buyout deal. So there are a number of things that I would say are possible from a contractual standpoint. But in just answering your questions more directly, the NNPCL owns it under the privatized current framework, as recognized by the Petroleum Industry Act.
Okay, Dr. Inang, if we could also get some insight as regards how the NNPCL intends to tackle the myriads of issues that we are having to grapple with within the petroleum polity currently. I mean, you can attest to the fact that even though they are trying to make it sound modest, that fuel is at 980 naira, but then we all know the game plan. It's heading to 1,000. It could even exceed 1,000 naira. What are those steps that must be taken to ensure that we get a hold of what's happening within this sector? Because it's really biting, and ordinary Nigerians are having to bear this brunt at a very costly situation.
Thank you very much. First I'll start by saying my deep my heart goes out to those Nigerians at the lower cadre of the economy who are having to be beaten the hardest, for no real fault of theirs. And, I can only sincerely sympathize with them and even dare to apologize on behalf of, the perennial issues that we're facing. Now, when you look at what the NNPC can do, I'm going to enunciate a couple of options from the short to medium term to long term options. So what's the short term plan? What I'm going to say is the short term plan and the simplest plan is we need to get the volumes in. At this point in time, the perennial fuel shortage issues that we've always had is as a result of one, the importation cycle we have for fuel is quite small. It's between 60 to 90 days. And what that means is if in 60 to 90 days, for some contractual or logistics reasons, we cannot get fuel in, we would have run out of fuel. That's a problem. So we need to start looking at being able to import more and perhaps leveraging the private tank farms as a kind of a de facto storage facility, strategic storage, in the absence of one strategic storage in the country. Then two, when we do that, I think we need to start setting aside funds for sort of intervention. People call for having a petroleum stabilization equalization fund, but I tend not to call for that. What I'm calling for is an intervention fund that allows you to be able to dip into that pocket as in when the crisis wants to ensue and be able to stabilize the petroleum market. Now, the next thing that you want to think about is you begin to want to build your own strategic storage. That's the next thing, because strategic storage allows us to have the economies of scale. We can import more for a lower unit price and pass that on to consumers. We need to fix our distribution channels. That's in the medium term. But in the long term, and almost crisscrossing into the medium term, we need to also get our domestic refineries functional. And fixing our domestic refineries has to do with, do we have the feedstock? I hear the federal government loud and clear. 450,000 barrels being earmarked for the domestic refineries to be sold in Naira per day. However, where is the feedstock? Do we even have up to 200,000 barrels for the refineries? That's a big question. And one of the ways to get the feedstock, in view of the fact that a lot of our feedstock has to go to our various partners under the JV and the production sharing contracts, a lot of our feedstock has to also go to the forward sales agreement, and we also need money to sell. We also need to sell and get dollars for our reserves and for FX interventions. What that means is that we need to find very clever ways to boost our production. We need to do that by stopping crude oil theft as best as we can. We need to do that by optimizing our production by primary and secondary production interventions. And we also need to do that by exploring new frontiers, bringing those volumes on board and incentivizing the investors to come very quickly and produce those assets and bring them on stream to add to the Nigerian bottom line. These are the ways from the short to the medium to the long term that we can be able to ensure that we have enough volumes to make sure that we ensure energy security.
Dr. Enang, just a follow-up question when it comes to ensuring prevention of oil theft. Now, I understand that a lot has been done in ensuring that we keep track of what goes in or what goes out within our oil sector. And this issue has dated all the way back to 2010, when the federal government was seen making efforts to ensure that it reaches an agreement where a tracking system was put in place to ensure that smuggling and theft of oil produce are arrested to the barest minimum and ensure that it doesn't become an order of the day. But then it might seem as though there are forces that are sort of preventing this from happening. Do you think that there are people who are interested in ensuring that there is no control and there is no monitoring of activities within the petroleum sector of Nigeria?
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to answer your question, but I want to be a bit more systematic, and that should put that sort of dichotomy between myself and a layman in the street. So for anything to function, and including what you're talking about, we need three critical barriers. We need the equipment barriers, we need the process barriers, and we need the people barriers. The equipment barriers is the technology. The process barriers is how we utilize people and the equipment barriers to solve the problem. And then the people barriers pretty much design the equipment and the the process barriers. What does that mean? One of the single point failure sources or modes is actually the people barrier. So in line with that, sort of taking that school of thought down to your question, it looks very plausible, and saying that, I say that very cautiously, because at the end of the day, whoever alleges must prove. But it's looking very, very plausible that there is sabotage in the people barrier. The equipment barrier and the process barriers are sacrosanct, but the people barriers are almost certainly, being compromised. And that's what it will look, because of course, when you look at it, there are economic reasons for people to want to play that way. But you cannot look at the full picture without also looking at the judiciary. How many times do we have closure from the judiciary when someone is caught culpable in certain crimes of sabotage? Most times they just walk away with a very light pat on the back. And so people know that without punitive actions, without name and shame, without consequences, they can easily manipulate the process and the equipment barriers. And at the end of the day, what is supposed to be the hope of the common man in the courts would not hold them culpable, and they'll be able to walk through and walk free without any consequences. So when you look at it from an integrated standpoint, without consequences, people, would just without any recourse to any regrets, will go on to manipulate the equipment and the process barriers for their own personal gains.
Okay, you made mention earlier about boosting production, and it brings me to the issue of bunkering. Now, the Nigerian Navy, as well as other Nigerian Army and other security agencies, the NSCDC, they've also made some recoveries and destroyed some illegal refineries. Now, we have, as a country, refineries which are not refining products, but we have individuals and persons refining products, and we term them illegal. Don't you think they could be brought in with some suggestions from some persons who've been in government previously? Don't you think they could be brought into the government to boost or monitor to boost production and help in refining products? Because we're having issues of scarcity and we're having inflated prices, all being attributed to high cost of importation of these refined products. Yet we have local refineries, I would say, but illegally making refined products for us.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that is an ongoing debate that even precedes my time of birth, whether we should legalize some of these, I think they tend to call them, there's a name they call them.
Bonfire.
But, yeah, bonfire refineries. But the point is this, right? The first thing is, when you look at the money flow of that, there is no way, so I would say follow the money trail. when you look at the money flow, some of those are going to fund very illicit activities, and you don't want to legalize that. That's the first thing. But let's look at it from a technical standpoint. Think about it. The government has now said, I think it's about, at the moment, I think it's less than 500 ppm of, sulfur contents for the petrol that are, and the diesel that are being used in the country. And even as before now, the Dangote refinery was doing about 600 ppm. Now, even with some of the state-of-the-art facilities, you don't want to imagine the hazardous nature of some of those fuels produced in those bonfires. And let me also tell you, authoritatively as an expert, those bonfire setups can only produce the heavier components, that's oil and diesel. The reason is it takes a lot more to produce the lighter components, gasoline and jet fuel. So it's not as straightforward. So none of them actually produce jet fuel. A lot of them produce, but at the moment, the issue, the narrative is not about the AGO. The narrative is about jet fuel. And so if your question is, if we can clean it up by some means, you want to ask, is it going to be profitable to do so? And if we bring that volume, is it going to change our energy dynamics? Well, it will change it for the AGO. But already, remember, there has been a publication that shows a lot of hotels and a lot of industrial centers are taking their feedstock of diesel from those bonfire centers. So it's already having its own effect in the economy. But when you talk about petrol, PMS as it will affect you and I for normal commuting vehicles, it will not change anything. But when you also talk about from a safety standpoint, it is really expensive to clean these things up because you almost want to set up another modular refinery, almost certainly, to clean it up. Think about the fact that the ppm effect from a pollution standpoint, but also think about the effect that of the discharge of those pollutants that are not required in the process, and they're almost discharged into the sea. So think about the opportunity cost to our blue economy and our ocean ecosystem in the long run. So it calls for a lot of balancing, because what you're trying to say is we're trying to take desperate actions to treat the symptoms, but without addressing the underlying conditions. Almost certainly, I'll tell you, we'll go back and find out that we're still back to square one at the end of the day.
Okay, but then there's also been the issue of debt now, as recently there has been a circular from the NNPCL tagging the scarcity or mentioning that perhaps there will be scarcity of fuel based on the fact that they have financial strain. I just want to get your opinion on that particular issue.
All right, so the issue is just developing. I think it's of about last week on Friday that it came out, but I think there are issues about. First, let's clarify. It's legacy. It's subsidy in or out, and what does that mean? So for long, let's go by what the government has told us. For long, we have been made to believe that subsidy is out, per the announcement of the president, which was more of a reflection of the Petroleum Industry Act provisions. But what does that mean in looking retrospectively with the help of hindsight? What we did see was that we were told subsidy was out and no more there, but we knew that between the landing cost of about 1,250 naira and the guide retail price of about 619 naira for the most part of the country, in NNPC filling stations, we know that someone is paying the differential. But the question is, who is paying the differential and how is it being absorbed into the books? Now we know that the NNPC sort of told us that subsidy wasn't there because they are not paying subsidy to any third-party companies for importation of fuel below the landing costs. However, the subsidy is being paid to them. So rather than paid to multiple people for which fake claims will be put forward in the process, now subsidy is only paid to NNPC. And NNPC is the one absorbing that differential, which they had told us it was a price cap, but now we know it was actually subsidy. Now, NNPC have now said, okay, they wrote to the government and said, we are almost at the climax in terms of our books. We can no more absorb any other payments. And what the government said was, defray your payments of royalties and taxes for 2023 and use it to offset the subsidy payment that has accrued on your books. And that's what we know. But we also know that the NNPC has not come forward to say what is their current debt standing on the importation of fuel. What we know, they've told us that the business is typically operated with debt. At the same time, they've also told us that they are not owing anybody to the tune of the $6 billion that was set, but that from time to time it is not out of place to owe. But what we do not know is there any subsisting debt at the moment? The money that they defrayed in terms of subsidy costs from the federal government, looking at from the standpoint of the taxes and the royalties that were accrued to the federal government, and federal government say use that to cover your subsidy. Is it enough? And is there still a subsisting debt? And if there is, how much is left and what is the plan to pay off? Because these are the devil in the details that will tell us whether we are anywhere close to stepping out of this quagmire, or we're still going to be in a quagmire, and for how long we're going to be in that quagmire.
Well, Dr. Anang, I'm really curious. What is it that is really the challenge with ensuring that our refineries are up and running? Because when we talk about these importation of petroleum products and how expensive it has been over time, which has in turn trickled down to affecting common Nigerians, what would it really take to ensure that all our refineries, if not all, at least 80% of them, function so that we can at least refine locally? And how will it affect the current pricing of petroleum products in the country?
All right, thank you very much. Let me just answer your question by reflecting on some of the key considerations that an investor will take when taking a final investment decision. So the first thing is the bankability of the project. And that is underpinned by, do you have an off-taker and you have a feedstock supplier, and is your business scalable? So, and then what is your in-country risk looking like? Now let's take the off-take case. We do know that we have a large market, but we do also know that the subsidy regime in the market, which is accounting for the difference between the price that we pay at the retail being lower than the price for the landing cost. That's one problem. The second problem is that our refineries are, not getting the feedstock that is required, which is the oil itself. So for us to fix the problem, we now have a problem that is characterized by the chicken and egg problem. The first thing is, which do you fix first? Do you float the prices and hope that later on when the refineries come up and have enough feedstock, that there's a very good interaction between demand and supply to allow you find a very suitable equilibrium price? Or do you start the refineries first, peg the prices, and then over time, when the interaction comes up, they will now be able to find a new suitable price? That's a big question. So for us to even get started, we need to fix the supply problem. For us to even get started, the refineries enough margin to be able to offset expenses and find the Nigerian market very appealing. Remember that we are always going to compete with the opportunity cost of getting the fuel and selling it to the regional markets in Ghana and the other West African corridor. So these are some of the things, but we need to get on very quickly, because the more we wait, the more we keep digging ourselves into the quagmire.
Okay.
Oh, we've been speaking with an energy expert, Dr. Wisdom Anang, bringing us some information as regards the activities within the NNPCL and efforts being made to privatize, so to say, the Warri and Kaduna refineries in the country. But then we have some reactions coming in. This one is from Kayode Abraham. This is hugely impossible with this so much
funds. Those refineries have gulped into pockets of present managers. You then suddenly woke up from your slumber to declare the privatization of Warri and Kaduna refineries. How? Why? Are you, that's NNPCL, not a private concern again? That's from Kayode Abraham, still from X. We have Afhiz says, I'm not getting this. I thought NNPC has been repositioned as a serious business entity. What would then be the core business if they cannot handle refinery operations, licensing of crude, and collecting money for sharing? Oh, okay.
Okay, this one is from Benjamin. He says, but then I thought they told us the refineries will start operations in September. Well, that's specifically for
Port Harcourt. Well, we were actually told August. And this is from Richard Ineomon. Says, will the selling or privatization of these assets eradicate this current fuel scarcity crisis? One thing about these politicians is that they aren't being sincere with Nigerian people. It's a big problem because nobody's holding them accountable.
Well, Dr. Enang, I don't know if you want to react to some of these reactions that we have had so far. I mean, looking at it, there's a lot of fists moving on social media, and people are really having disaffection as regards the activities and events within the NNPCL and the oil sector in general. What do you make of these reactions? Do they reflect the pulse of the people?
Yeah, they do reflect the pulse of the people because to whom much is given, much is expected. And even when you superimpose that conversation and look at the fact that, you know, when the PIA came, everyone was quite excited, felt like, you know, we were finally getting our act right. But the implementation of the PIA has been done in a way that gives very little confidence. You say subsidies out in one direction on a stronger naira, but it's in a different direction on a weaker naira, and it's even more volume that has ever been paid with by any administration. That again shows Nigerians, in fact, it begs to ask that whether the PIA was truly conceived in a way that it will be implemented for the benefits of Nigeria, or whether it was one of those pet projects that was conceived so that we can get some applause, but we have no that of how to implement it. It's almost like saying you buy an aircraft and everybody claps, and then you recruit maybe a foreman to go in and fly the aircraft, and then of course you know what's going to happen because there are nuances that it has to that you know affects the flight of an aircraft beyond just having the money to buy an aircraft.
All right, Dr. Enang, thank you very much for being a part of Niger Delta today. We appreciate your views on the program.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and do have a wonderful afternoon.
And you too.
Well, a lot of other reactions from other sectors, which we'll talk about right now. The troops of 6th Division Nigerian Army, in connection with other security agencies, have tightened the noose against illegal artisanal refinery activities and associated crimes in the Niger Delta region. Simultaneously, in several operations conducted simultaneously last week, the troops denied criminal elements and economic saboteurs freedom of action, with some successes recorded over 1,115 illegal refining sites, 66 boats destroyed, 22 suspects arrested, 27 stolen pipes, 4 pumping machines recovered, 5 illegal connections clamped, and over 170,000 stolen products confiscated, in addition to other ancillary items deactivated. Well, in Bayelsa State, troops of the division conducted operations around the swampy EBD General Area, Torn Brass, Agip Terminal in Brass local government area, where 1 illegal refining site, 1 generator, 1 pumping machine, 1 reservoir, as well as 1 large wooden boat with stolen illegally refined products estimated to be over 90,000 liters was intercepted. Also in southern Niger, local government area around Ibomotoru, 2 illegal refining sites, 1 wooden boat, as well as over 2,000 products were confiscated in the same local government area around Opotoma and Isinubene troops deactivated 2 illegal refining sites and confiscated over 2,500 liters of stolen crude in Rivers State. Troops of the division also dominated the operations environment with footprints of operational successes at the notorious Imo River. Over 79 illegal refining sites, 59 wooden boats were destroyed with over 40,000 stolen products recovered. Also in Delta State, troops intercepted a wooden boat at Asaba Asa Community Jetty, Ndokwa East local government area with over 40 sacks of illegally refined products. One person has been arrested in connection to the crime. In Warri Southwest local government area, 1 illegal refining site has been taken out with over 2,700 liters of stolen products recovered, while in Akwa Ibom State, troops of the division have continued to dominate the waterways and hinterland to effectively deny criminal elements freedom of action. The suspects have been handed over to the appropriate security agencies for prosecution, while confiscated products have been handled appropriately. The General Officer commanding 6th Division Nigerian Army Major General Jamal Abdul Salam has urged troops to ensure zero tolerance for illegal artisanal refinery activities and associated crimes in the Niger Delta region.
Well, still on oil and gas matter, host community of oil-producing states in Nigeria have been advised to unite in order to create room for the successful implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act in various domains. Now, drivers of the program, Chairman House Committee on Host Communities, Dunam Mene Deko, a federal lawmaker, the National Assembly, National Chairman Host Community Development, Smart Opara, Executive Director, Partnership Initiatives in the Niger Delta region, Tunji Do, and a host of others who made the call during a stakeholders sensitization conference, called for a transparent process. Well, let's take a look at that.
Presently, the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA 2021, creates an opportunity for host communities to be directly involved in shaping how their development needs are addressed, particularly through the establishment and operationalization of host communities development trust. It is our utmost desire and hope that all stakeholders can take advantage of the provisions of the PIE to address the numerous problems and challenges that have bedeviled the development of the Niger Delta for the past 6 decades. We are aware that the regulatory agencies, particularly NUPRC, and the oil companies, that's the settlers in this case, are at different levels of implementing the provisions of the Act. We have held a series of engagements with various stakeholders which have offered us the opportunity to understand the current status of implementation of HCDTs. Over 100 have been put in place, but till now we speak, I cannot tell you how many are operational. What we want to see is not just the act, it's not the talk, but we want to see the work.
Well, in the People's Democratic Party talking politics now, ward congresses at the state level were held in some states in the Niger Delta. For Akwa Ibom, the Congress was postponed, according to a release by the State Assistant Publicity Secretary, Mr. Itoronoa, adding that the Congress will now hold on the 14th of September 2024. Well, over the Rivers State, now the state governor was absent at the Congress held. The governor, Siminalaya Fubara, who has expressed dissatisfaction with the PDP's handling of party matters and has claimed that the party has failed him, and was notably absent from the Congress led by Minister Wike's faction. His absence underscores the deepening rift within the party as Fubara's supporters shunned the event, which was seen as a consolidation of Wike's influence over the party structure in Rivers State. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, during the Congress emphatically stated that nobody will take away the party structure in Rivers State. In fact, Wike warned governors against their plan to destroy what he called destroy the PDP structure in Rivers State. Wike threatens to instigate political crisis in other states if their governors interfere in the politics of Rivers, and he has made it clear that he will not relinquish control of the party structure, framing the Congress as a demonstration of his continued dominance within the state party. Let's take a look at the video.
When he held the local government Congress, INEC observed it, security agencies were there. Today, the state congresses is being held, INEC is here, security agencies are here. The law requires that for every congress or primary of any political party government in the state, if the government says it does not want us, will you kill yourself? No. Will you run away from the party you built? No. We are the party members, and we have taken over our party. The way we did it, how we did it in 2023, the same God will allow us, will support us, will be with us in 2027. Let nobody be intimidated. It's not every business you enter into that you get profit. So see this one as one of those businesses that you invested and you lost. Anywhere you see them say they are finished. And let me assure all of you, not while we live, not while we live, anybody will take away the structure of PDP from us. Not while we live. And let me tell people, I hear that there are some governors, there are some governors who say they will take away the structure and give back to somebody. I pity those governors because I'll put fire in their state.
Well, that was the situation at Rivers State during the PDP World Congress. Well, over to some of the issues in Edo State. Now, with just 19 days to the 2024 gubernatorial election in Edo State, attention has been drawn to the state with some hearts racing faster as the days draw closer. Now, what will be the fate of the candidate? Should we be looking forward to multiple court cases as we usually see in some cases? Or what will be the fate of Edo residents after the elections? Well, we will be having this discussion on updates in Edo State as well as getting to understand what's happening at the moment.
Absolutely. We have joining us right now Ahmadine Amos Cole. He is the APC Senatorial Youth Leader, Edo Central. Ahmadine Cole, you're welcome on Niger Delta today.
Welcome to the show. Can you hear us?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can you hear me, please?
Yes. Ahmadine Cole, you're welcome on Niger Delta today.
Thank you very much. Nice being on your show.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Well, we're tracking developments in Edo State. I mean, just barely 19 days to the big day when Edo people will head to the field to choose who governs them for the next 4 years. What has it been so far?
Well, it's a usual thing within the political space. Rallies, politicking, lobbying, everything about politics is ongoing. You understand? It's just a very interesting atmosphere, and it's a very interesting period. How we're friends and brothers. Begin to have a psychological perception about their interest in their various political parties and their candidate as well. So it's all about politics, and that's what's been going on. Rally campaigns, preparation for the T-Day, the election itself, and it's just an interesting activities going on right now.
INEC said it was going to conduct a peace accord signing very soon. Is your party going to be part of that process, and how committed is your party to the peace process in Edo State as the elections approach?
Well, of course, you know that this is not the first time an election is being held in Edo State, and this is not the first time we're seeing a peace pact being signed. And in the past, APC have often partake so much in all these activities, and they're very committed to the peace approach in the election itself. So there's nothing new about it. It's a fundamental thing to do. It's a necessary thing to do, and the party is highly committed to peace process, and at the same time, be part of all the activities that is going to be carried out by INEC. So there's nothing negative to that from the side of the party. But first of all, before we continue, I'd like to state categorically that I am not a spokesperson to the party, and everything I say here is based on my own personal opinion. So I think we have to take it from that level. Thank you.
Okay. Now, based on your personal opinion and views, what do you make of the different candidates in the state?
Well, I don't understand what I think make up. Every candidate that believe that they are popular enough, that believe that they have what it takes, the capacity, and they have the interest of the people, actually fight to be part of this election. And I think, except you want to measure their capacity, to undertake the election itself, and then you are looking at them from various perspectives. Yeah. And I think we may have to come to the areas of choice that you want to look at particularly. And, holistically, they are just people who believe that they have the confidence of the people, they are popular enough, they have enough arsenals to convince the people, and they have the interest of the people. They understand the problem of the state, and they know that they have what to take the capabilities to ensure that they deliver and they change the narrative for the state. That's why they're all part of it. So for me, I wouldn't know the areas that you are looking at the makeup, but I think generally, whoever is not ready cannot undertake election in this.
Okay, but then how do you see the security architecture of Edo State, especially as we just have 19 days and a number of people, their hearts are racing, and some political parties too are teaming towards that. So how do you see the security architecture of Edo?
Well, we are in Nigeria. Edo State is not out of Nigeria as it stands right now because of election, and the level is very high, and people they're not safe, or someone's trying to outwit all the political parties or try to create fear. But it's usual. It's a normal political thing. But as it stands generally, except that somebody wants to be biased or somebody is going to be biased somewhere. But as it stands, it's safe. It's safe to conduct election. It is safe that election is going to hold. There is a calm atmosphere in Edo State as it stands. Forget about what happened, during the rally or popular, the return of the deputy governors at that time. But it was just a sectional part of the state. It cannot be generalized across the states that the totality of the security aspect of the states, that the state is not secure. No, that's not true.
Okay,
that just happened between a group of two persons.
Mr. Cole, as we begin to
it doesn't have to be the minister of the state.
Okay, as we begin to conclude the conversation, I'd like you to make some inputs as regard the preparedness of INEC to conduct this obstacle election. Of course, opinion polls are that yes, INEC has enough time to ensure that the Edo polls and the Ondo polls come out really sparkling, because they have ample time to work with and they've had enough time to plan. And of course, INEC itself has come out to promise that it was ready in all areas to ensure that the process was free and fair for all Edo people. What, in your opinion, would you love to see INEC do as the elections approach?
Well, in my own opinion, I think INEC has actually been doing the right thing to an extent. The registration exercise has been concluded at the appropriate time, as in just within the few period, and it was even extended for more people to capture more people. And I think assessing the portals for registration, both those who are at home and outside the states, they were able to make some transfers of their voters cards. Some those who were not registered before were able to register as well. And I think at this time, between last week or thereabouts, they've got involved in PVC distributions, and that was done, and they brought it closer to the people in the various wards, and to an extent, and a lot of people have had access to collect their PVC. So, and other preparation, well, there's not much, even when I talk about INEC preparation, there's not much that can change this, their preparedness. But the only thing is that they are following their timetable, tenantry. They are following their timetable, in due courses, and everything is going well as planned for now. But when it gets to election, the election real time, probably 2-3 days of election, it brings about some kind of, they reassess the situation if it is possible for them to continue or not. Okay. Let's start right now.
Thank you, APC Senatorial Youth Leader, Edo Central, Mr. Amadine Amos Cole. Thank you for being a part of Niger Delta today. We really have to go.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. And well, with that, we will draw the curtains for today's edition of the program, Niger Delta Today. It's been a wonderful time getting to talk about numerous issues that affect the Niger Deltans. I am Jennifer Pius.
And I am Xavier Roberts, wishing you a terrific afternoon. Bye for now.